He was one of the best featherweight champions we have ever had on the Australian MMA regional scene before he lost his belt. And now he's going to lightweight.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your main event.
Live from HBF Stadium Festival Hall. Melbourne Pavilion.
Not even backstage, we're literally outside.
Was that the best fight card in Australian MMA history?
Call me crazy, but make sure you call me when I'm right.
Be good if the Aussie MMA Instagram page would give us a bit of glow up because we're killing
Welcome to the Australian MMA podcast. My name is Mitch Tinley and today's guest is the long-time appearer on the show, Justin Van Heerden, the most unfiltered man in all of Australian MMA, and he continues that in this interview. Yeah, he takes on Raph Scott, November 23rd Hex Fight Series for basically what he has revealed as a number one contenders fight for the Hex Lightweight Championship, and a man that has picked up both the Eternal and Hex Featherweight Championship. To see him go up a weight class, if he can pick up the Lightweight Championship, it's just, how can you deny Justin Van Heerden the next level? Like I said, he's very unfiltered. We get his thoughts on the recent sort of weight cutting issues in Australian MMA. He basically roasts the entire featherweight and lightweight division on both Hex and Eternal. He talks about his relationship with both promotions, and he's just a man that just does whatever he wants. And that's why I think he's one of the most exciting fighters. And he's looking to sort of step up the excitement in the cage. So find out why that might not have been the case up until this point and sort of what we can expect November 23rd. But ladies and gentlemen, let's hear from our lovely friends at Vex, and on the other side, Justin Van Heerden.
PRP Global and Vex have joined forces, so keep an eye out. Launching mid-November, they've got a new Vex website and new MMA fightwear range releasing shortly. Vex, designed for combat and worn by the best in Australia.
Ladies and gentlemen, joining me back on the show, the sluttiest man in Australian MMA, it's Justin Van Heerden. What's going on?
Right, fucking, it's starting to apply, right? Yeah, nah, I'm fucking back again. We're back. I don't know. I just keep. Oh yeah, like you said, man. I'm just looking for holes, and I'm in there.
What? Why are you bouncing back and forth? I mean, surely you could have gone lightweight on Eternal.
Well, yeah. Well, like I said, so I kind of So what happened was I fought Costa. I spoke to Cam like immediately and was like, what's next? Like, what do we got? And then I was straight up. Obviously, I'm self-aware enough to see the situation in the landscape at featherweight for Eternal, and I knew that obviously I can't fight my teammate for the belt. They're not going to want to put me against a Taser or one of these other guys that are like on a bit of a tear, because I beat them. I can't fight for the belt, and then it's kind of like it takes away people for potential opponents for Seb as well. And then. Yeah, so they were initially like, "Yep, cool," and then Cam was like, I'll contact you guys on the Tuesday, and then we'll start teeing stuff up." And then, yeah, it just kind of went like radio silent, and then I was like hounding Cam because I kind of like left it for a bit. I was like, "Oh, he's probably got a lot of stuff he's trying to figure out." And then there's all the stuff like Martinez missing weight, all this crazy stuff with shows and all that sort of stuff. So I was like, "Oh, this guy's got a lot on his plate." Like, and he and I like pretty good usually. Like, if I message him, he'll get back to me pretty much straight away. And then I started noticing that he was just like, yeah, kind of like radio silent. It was just airing everything. And I was like, okay. So then I sort of spoke to Joe and Tyra, and I was like, well, like, what have you guys had anything like from their end, or what's going on? And then, because I wanted to fight on the show just gone, right? I wanted to get back in there. And then I was like, that leaves me with another opportunity to have a quick turnaround and fight in the Gold Coast potentially as well. Because I want to be busy, man. I want to fight. And then, yeah, it was just kind of like a thing of like radio silence. And then I started like really sort of breaking it down and thinking about it. And I was like, yeah, well, they probably just don't want to offer me anything because I'm knocking back people that are potential fights for said. And I was like, all right, but at least like have a conversation and be like, yeah, like we don't really have anything for you, or we don't really want to offer you anything at featherweight. And then that was going to be my thing. Like, well, give me someone at lightweight. Like, I'll fight. I want to fight. Like, I'll go up to lightweight on the regional scene. Like, I pretty much clocked it at featherweight. So let me go to lightweight and I'll fight. And there's a gang of cool matchups at at lightweight. And a lot of the lightweights in the region are tied to Eternal, because obviously you got Harry Webb's the champ. his teammate Daly, he's part of, he's probably going to stick to Eternal. Like, they're not going to fight on Hex or anything like that anytime soon. Don Muffin pretty much stuck to like loyal to Eternal. Jack Becker, well, Martinez until he decided that he doesn't want to be a lightweight anymore, but he's going to fight a welterweight, but still tied to Eternal. So there's all these guys that are like lightweights but they're tied to Eternal. So even looking at the landscape, so then I was kind of like I sat down with Joe and Tara and I was like, kind of suggested, I was like, well, why don't we just hit up Hex for a fight, like a lightweight fight? Because I was like, looking at that as well, there's, Mangos is in a really good position right now. He's probably not going to risk taking a rematch fight. He doesn't need to, right? It's not like, it's not like a thing that he has to do. So I was kind of looking at that and I was like, well, if I'm not fighting for the belt again, I was like, well, who can I fight? And then you kind of look at the thing in the landscape and it's a bit like, there's few and far between. Because obviously Abdallah and Barbara are booked. I've fought Michael twice. Abdallah's obviously first fight back since his layoff. Makes sense that they kind of threw that together. He gets to step back in there, throw himself back in the fire, kind of see how he sort of bounced back after his stint in his break. And then I was like, all right, well, then looking at it, see Jarrett's my teammate. And then I was like looking at a couple of the other sort of potentials, and it's like maybe, you got Semikade there, but he might be fighting on Rogue. Also, he's coming off a loss. Like, the fuck does that do for me? It doesn't get me closer to fighting, a bigger fight or anything like that. So I sat there and was just like, well, why don't I just go to lightweight? Like, what for my remainder of my time on the regional scene, whether that's this fight and then I'm off to the races or another 2 fight, well, who knows? I couldn't really care less about that. It's while I'm on the regional scene, what can I do to sort of further, make myself undeniable and sort of cement myself as still being like one of the top guys, like reinforcing that again. So I was like, oh, let's go. Like, why don't we just ask about a lightweight fight? And then initially I was like, why don't we do, and then Joe was like, why don't we go forward to them with like an idea of you fighting a lightweight and see what they can give us and see what the options are. And then even then I was looking at lightweight being like, well, there's most of the contenders are tied, or top guys are tied to Eternal. They're not going to fight on Hex. So I was like, all right, let's see what the thing is. And then we kind of half proposed like maybe like a Grand Prix style type thing where it was like, I fight someone, 2 other lightweights fight, and then the winners fight for the belt. And then it kind of came to it that they came back with Raph, and I was like, yeah, sweet. I just immediately was like, yeah, cool, let's go. Man, I like to do. He's got a good style, comes forward, look at all his wins, they're all finishes. So, and he brings it. So I was like, cool, like that's good for me. And then, I don't give a fuck who they get after this fight for me to fight for the title early next year. But I couldn't care who it is. I don't care if it's someone on the regional scene. I don't care if they fly someone in. I don't care who it is. Doesn't really matter. And it's just exciting for me because it's a new weight division. It's a new challenges, new stylistic matchups, new sort of problems that I get to solve, which is exciting for me because obviously the last thing I want to do would be, go into another fucking rematch at featherweight with like Diego or someone like that I've already fought, unless it was Mangos, because obviously, he got me in the first one. From a competitive point of view, I would like, if the opportunity was there to get that one back, obviously I want to get that one back. But like, outside of that, fuck, what am I going to do? Fight Rod Costa for a 4th time? Like, what are we doing? It's just kind of like, a new exciting challenge, and it kind of made sense. So I'm stoked, man. I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to making my debut as a lightweight and kind of setting the tone that I set at featherweight.
Now, I think it's actually a smart decision. Like, it almost feels very and this is the only comparison to Max Holloway you'll ever get, but it's very like Max Holloway. Like, when there kind of was nothing to happen at featherweight because of Volk and all that sort of stuff, you go up to lightweight, you knock someone out at lightweight who's a stud, and all of a sudden you look like you can come back again and do whatever you want. Like, if you go up to lightweight and smack 2 dudes around, doesn't matter who it is, but you just smack 2 dudes around, you can almost come back down and fight George again. And it's almost like more enticing because you went up a weight class and did it. And it's like each win at lightweight feels like you get double points. So when you come, like, do you know what I mean? Like, so I think it's actually like a really smart decision wise. I'm really confused as to why it's not a title fight straight away.
You and me both. I mean, I feel like it would have made sense to do that. I'll be honest, initially, we went at them asking for a lightweight fight, and my suggestion to Joe and Tara was book me and Joblin for the belt.
Yeah.
That's a banger fight. I made my I was fighting as an amateur when Joblin was already a pro, beating like guys like Mumford and shit like that, you know. Been around the game, super experienced, super dangerous, super well-rounded. I know him. I've trained with him. We got a good thing. Nothing but respect for that dude. He's a fucking absolute machine in the cage. He's a great family man, carries himself properly outside of the cage. So I was like stoked at of the prospect of kind of fighting someone like Joblin. And then, so I was like, well, why don't you just do me and Joblin for the belt? So yeah, I was like, okay. And then when they were like, oh, when they came back with Raph, I was like, oh, cool. At least I got a name. So I got a name and a date. That's cool. And then I was thinking like, maybe they will just put the belt up for grabs straight away, or just in this fight. I was like, I'd be more than happy for them to have done that. I'm sure Raph wouldn't mind if the belt was up for grabs as well. But yeah, I don't really care. Like I mean, looking at from my point of view too, if I have to make have this fight is like your showcase in a new weight division where you got to come out and kind of cement yourself again. Sort of walk into the cage at Hex in a new weight division, making your debut, go out there, kind of put on a show, make a statement. Like obviously people have seen me fight before, been around the game for a while. It's not like I'm some new guy trying to like be like, hey, this is me, this is the product I present, tune in. It's sort of, yeah, I guess it is kind of good to sort of get this fight in, walk out there, go show my stuff, show the new level I've reached, show how I sort of fit into the lightweight division, and then know that the next thing is I'm fighting for a lightweight belt. So yeah, I mean, if they between now and the fight, if they decide to make it a 5-round fight for the belt, I'm down. But I'm taking this regardless as an opportunity for me to sort of cement myself in a new weight division, and show that I'm one of the top dudes in the region for a while. Have been for a while, and I'm going to continue to be. And I'm doing things that other people, probably number one aren't going to try and do unless their hand is forced by someone else. Like I'm going to go chase these challenges, man. Look at the guys that I'm training with. Look at the guys that I have set an example for me. Like I'm all about looking for what's next and what's going to be a difficult challenge and a new problem for me to solve. So yeah, that's a new weight class, a guy I've never fought before. A dangerous guy that look at his fights, look at his wins. He finishes people, so it's like that's going to bring out the best in me. Because if you look at my fights, right, whenever I've fought and been matched with guys where people are like, oh, this guy's dangerous and fucking, that's when I perform my best. If you look at some of the fights where maybe, and even some of the rematches, like where I kind of, it's probably I guess the threat isn't there, or that you already kind of know half what to expect. I still go out there and perform well, but I don't feel that sense of like danger and like, fuck, oh my God, like I gotta, I don't know what to expect and I don't know what this is going to be like. And I feel like if you look back at the run I had before I won the belt, that's kind of what was there, right? I'm fighting these dangerous guys, the guys that people are like, oh, Justin's not got a chance against these guys. He's not going to win. He's not going to, he's not going to be able to compete here. And then I go out there and have some of my best performances. And even this year, if you look at some of my things, like, if you look at my Barber fight and you look at my fight with Mangos, and regardless of the result, both of those fights, it's like night and day. If you compare that to my fight with Costa, it's night and day. Like that, it wasn't the same Justin that was walking into the cage for those two fights. Like I had a few major things in my personal life that were kind of like, I was trying to sort of just put to the side and be like, oh, I'll use the fact that I'm a professional athlete and a fighter and this sport is so demanding to keep myself occupied and preoccupied and kind of just put that shit to the side. But you can't do that because this sport's way more mental than this physical. The physical part's easy. Getting in there and beating the fuck out of someone, that's not hard. We can do that and you can get hit and whatever. But kind of trying to think that you can just put stuff to the side and approach these fights that way, it's not going to work. And you saw that in the fights, like even the fight with Barber, right? Man, I should have finished that dude in the first round. I should have submitted him, and that should have been Bob. Bob's your uncle. That's all she wrote, and I should have walked out of that cage and been like, yeah, sweet. And even with Mangos, right? Like you can kind of see that it's if you look at the performance, like yeah, I'm winning rounds and I'm getting through the fight, but I wasn't really fucking even present in the cage. And you know what happens if you're not present in the cage and you're in there with someone who's an absolute fucking stud and a killer, you're gonna get, you're gonna lose and you're gonna get caught and you're gonna get put away. And that's what happened there. So yeah, and then you look at my fight with Costa where I'm like, I kind of was back in a sort of better mental space. Those things that were sort of pulling away in my personal life had kind of come to uh, a resolution and kind of come to a halt. So then you look at my fight with Costa, I'm back in there. I'm having fun again. I'm like, I'm not feeling like there's something that's like holding me back from being able to go out there and perform. And I went in that cage with Costa and I was like, just having fun in there. I was having fun again. And I was like, I enjoyed the whole fight week. I enjoyed the whole prep. Like the camp was good. The tough, all those tough sessions, like I was just thriving again. And it kind of was just like, yeah, it just felt like you could see there was just that reinvigorated sort of thing that people are sort of used to when I go out there and fight. Like I'm in there having fun, I'm talking to the guys that are filming me cage side while Costa's trying to choke me. Like I'm just back having fun, and I was just that was a really fun fight for me. And then I was happy with some of the things that I did. There was a bunch of good stuff that I did that stuck to the plan of what we wanted to do that Joe and Nat wanted me to sort of focus on. A few little things I could have done better, like obviously could have stopped him from stop him from getting to certain positions and stuff like that. But that's every fight. Even the fights where you dominate, there's still things that you're sort of nagging at you. They're going to go, I need to fix that. I need to work on that. And Rod's fucking dangerous, right? You get to hold you, not where you want to be. Like I was actually, even after the fight, I said that to the guys. I was like, I was very surprised that by how isometrically strong he was. Like he's actually a lot stronger than what he looks. And I was like, and then I could feel that in those exchanges. I was like, yeah, you don't want this dude to sort of get set and get established. Like I'm in here with an absolute killer. Like this guy can sub me at any point if I fuck up. So that was cool again to have that, that kind of feeling going into the fight, but then also while I'm fighting. So yeah, looking forward now and looking at this next fight, man, I think people can expect a whole new level. They can expect a much more dangerous guy that's going to step in there, and they can expect a similar sort of style of fight and performance. If you look at like my fights with the Kalavi and that, where I'm coming out there to, number one, win, number two, put on a show, but just show that I'm levels better than guys, and I keep progressing and improving because I'm so obsessed with the fact that I need to do that, and I sort of stick to the grindstone and I surround myself with the best fighters on the planet.
Is it hard to know that, you went on such a run and you still couldn't get through the door of the UFC, to now know that you kind of almost have to reset, go again, then go even better just to get your shot? Or do you feel like it is like one or two fights away?
Honestly, yeah, obviously, hindsight's everything, and I can sit there and go, man, sucks that I would have liked if those things went better or whatever. And I could sit here and go like, man, everyone in there, like everyone knows, everyone can sit here now and be like, when I probably should have got signed when I won the belt, like 4 fights on the trot, bunch of finishes, won the belt. There's an argument for me to fight there. I was meant to fight that February, headline that card the night before the UFC, got injured, whatever, reschedule the fight. I go out there and starch Rod in the second fight. I mean, even then, just again reinforcing I'm the fucking guy that that deserves to have the shot to fight some fight those world class people in one of these top promotions. And then it was kind of like, yeah, it is what it is. But it's like initially, yeah, there's frustration and kind of look back and go, well, but I mean, and then losing to George, yeah, in the cage, it was like that moment of like, fuck, man, well, there goes a win streak and blah, blah, blah. And you kind of feel like that, like, oh, is this going to set me back real far? Where does this go? But then we're talking with my team and Joe and Alex and Tara and that, and kind of reassessing sort of things. It's not, I definitely don't think it was as detrimental as what it was, especially my willingness to sort of get straight back in there, compete, get back in the winner's circle. And then again, already book another fight, already want to sort of get myself back in there. And then I think if, by the time I fight this fight and then say when I fight for the belt early next year, and then there's a potential there that I'm having like 5-6 fights in a calendar year, like back to that strength of schedule that I'm used to after a bit of a wait on the sidelines, just kind of trying to see what's next or wait for certain opportunities. But I definitely feel like, look, at the end of the day, and this has been the last couple of weeks, or especially with looking at contender series and all that sort of shit. At the end of the day, like if you go out there and pull people away, you could like, the world's your oyster. Like anything can happen. So if I go out there and later this month and absolutely starch Raph, the opportunity for me to potentially get a call up to something bigger and better, it's right there. And then I'm more than confident that if I then fight for a belt early next year, especially like, for example, against a really dangerous, experienced opponent on a win streak, such as like a Kieran Joblin or whoever it might be, and I go out there and perform and do the same thing, put on a great performance, be entertaining, put them away, win a second belt up in weight, that's 2 weight classes, 2 belts. I'll be like 16. There'll be 16 wins that I'd have. I'd be on a 3-fight win streak, hopefully a couple of finishes. I think that kind of cements you as nothing's guaranteed, but it puts you in a really fucking good spot for them to be like, hey, it's time. You know what I mean? So I'm feeling pretty good about where I am. Because at the end of the day, like I know what I've done. I know what I'm capable of still being able to do. And I know I can compete at the world level. Like I constantly am sparring and training with some of the top fighters. I know where I sit in the sort of on the ladder. Like I know I can compete at this world stage, and I know that I can go out there and do my thing. So I'm excited because now I've got this next opportunity for me to go out there and perform, and hopefully, get some sort of massive finish and put on an absolute cracking performance, and then we'll see what's next.
Is it easier now that you don't have this big long win streak to take certain fights, or did you like before when you were kind of like, oh man, I'm 1 fight away, I got to kind of make sure this is the right matchup to get in, where now you can just kind of go, I've just got to get momentum again?
Yeah, I know. I preferred when it was like that pressure's there, when you were like, okay, it's like you got to, there's like your win streaks on the line. There's a lot more riding on it. I prefer that because I feel like, yeah, that's kind of it. You got to sort of absorb stuff like that because it's going to make you better as a fighter. And then it's just about obviously putting it together in the cage and kind of showcasing that for everyone else to see. So yeah, I mean, obviously at the moment though, like I'm approaching like I approach all my fights with that sort of chip on my shoulder and that approach of like, oh, I've got everything riding on this, and also people don't think that I can, they don't think I can win, and they don't think I can do these things. But that's why I want to like go out there again, showcase the new level that I've reached, showcase the new skills I've added, the improved skills I already have. And then, go out there and hopefully get like a massive finish and kind of sort of cement this so that when I come into whatever's next for me, I'm like, there's a bit more of that momentum back there. You're already sort of building on that win streak again, and everything's sort of fallen the right way.
Is there anything about Raph Scott's game that concerns you at all?
Yeah, he's dangerous, bro. He's like I said, if you look at his wins, I'm pretty sure he's finished all his wins. I'm pretty sure he's finished those fights. And he's been around for a while. His fight with Jack was his first fight back after a big layoff, and he was able to start out pretty strong. Obviously had a bit of adversity when he got reversed and stuff like that, but then was able to capitalize and find a finish and sort of do his thing. So yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm fighting a guy who's fought in this weight class consistently, who's probably gonna be coming into the fight with the intent to sort of be like, hey man, like this is, you're new to this weight division. You're kind of coming into my area, like, and be, sort of more than willing to put me away. So I know he's going to come forward and bring it. He's dangerous. He's got power in his hands. He's got great grappling skills. So it's going to be, yeah, I'm intrigued by how it's sort of going to play out. I'm intrigued by the problems he's going to present, but then at the same time, like I recognize, I ain't a small featherweight. So if I'm coming into this fight, you better not be thinking that you're coming into this fight and you're just going to have like, you're going to, oh, it's a lightweight fight. I've been fighting a lightweight. This guy's coming up from featherweight. Like, I'm a big guy, man. I'm a big dude, and and this weight division is gonna suit me pretty well, I believe. So, and I feel like, I'm pretty well rounded. Like, I like, obviously, the wrestling and the grappling and that sort of stuff is always going to be the thing that people kind of look at when it comes to me, and that stands out because that's kind of how I made my living early on in this game, and that's kind of my background and sort of what I came into the sport with. But I'm dangerous everywhere, man, and I feel like fight to fight to fight, I've shown that, especially when it comes to my striking. But I'm coming into this fight excited at the prospect of a guy that's going to try and put me away. He's going to try and shut my lights out or submit me and, come after me and bring the fight. And at the same time, it's going to give me an opportunity to showcase my well-rounded skill set, my fight IQ, and all the things that I know I'm capable of doing in there, and then potentially and hopefully a very, very exciting finish.
How is your weight, the dieting? How's that going?
It's fucking good, man. Like I said, I'm pretty lucky. I got like a really good, obviously a really good team around me, really good professional fucking group of people around me whose job it is to sort of worry about all that shit. I just do as I'm told, so it's good. Like, and even now with like Athletes Nutrition coming on board as a sponsor and kind of taking care of all that sort of stuff with like my meals and stuff like that, it just makes it another one. And like, I obviously love, I love cooking and shit like that. I love doing all that sort of stuff for myself, but it just makes that one less thing that you don't have to worry about. But everything's spot on, man. Like, from my strength and conditioning to my nutrition to all that sort of stuff, it's all running like clockwork. And it's because I have those professional people around me, and I kind of just stay diligent with that, and I just do what I'm supposed to do.
In terms of the fight, going in, is there a bit of a prediction? Do you think it's going to be a bit of a war, or?
I feel like like I said, I feel like he's going to bring it. And especially if you look at his last fight, like obviously it's his first fight back in a while. He was still fucking in the blanket cutting weight at the weigh-ins, and while it had a bit more to go. So obviously it didn't look like a fun process for him. So I imagine that kind of fueled him a bit to get that fight done in the first round last time out. And I have a feeling that if he does struggle again this time, or there is a bit of that there, it's going to be that same thing. But he kind of brings it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So I'm expecting he's going to come forward and bring it. But yeah, if he's not diving for my legs, he's going to be looking up at the ceiling, wondering what the fuck happened, because I'm coming to put him away. I ain't planning to go to the judges, especially not in this dude's fucking hometown. Like, I'm going to put him away. I'm going to finish him inside 2 rounds. And whether that's with my hands and I starch him on the feet, or I catch his neck, but I'm coming to put him away. So I'm going to bring it. And if that facilitates itself to lead to being a 3-round war, and we're both covered in blood, and it's about who can dig deeper, then so be it. I've been in that as well. I've been in 5-round fights. I've been in fights like that. So, at the end of the day, I'm super experienced. I've got that in my back pocket. I know what I need to do. But no, I'm coming to put this dude away and make a statement so that, everyone can realize, like, yeah, I'm still the fucking man.
Finally, before I let you go, I feel like there's been a lot of news with weight cuts recently. Obviously, David Martinez missing heaps of weight, even last weekend with Alden Bates and whatnot. Do you think that there's become a bigger issue with weight misses, or do you think it's just more publicized?
It's a bit of both, right? It's definitely more of a thing. And then it's always going to be a bigger thing on the regional scene, because obviously people, are going to give less of a fuck when it comes to like regional MMA. But yeah, it's definitely like that. But and also it's probably spoken about a lot more. And it's probably, in the public eye a lot more. And people are sort of, if something like that happens, there's going to be people that, like myself, like you, that are going to be like, hey, what the fuck's going on here? Or like talking about it, right? So yeah, and I feel like that's a good thing, because shit like that, man, like Dave, like I love that guy, man. I got a lot of time for that dude. But like doing all these things where you're saying and making out like, oh, there's like this accident that happened and blah blah blah. Yeah, you passed out because you were cutting too much weight and you cracked your head. Like, you didn't fucking just slip on a wet floor. Blah. You were cutting weight, you were dehydrated, you passed out, you hit your head. Like, let's just call it like it is. Alden Bates, look, every man and their fucking dog. I love that dude too. He's always been cool to me. I really like him. Nothing against Alden, but every man and their dog knows that guy cuts a fuck ton of weight, man. I've been in the room when they've weighed him, when Perth was still doing the next day weigh-ins at the fight, to see what you got to like get to. And I seen the dude's face that weighed him in. And I know this dude cuts a lot of weight. Like, he might weigh in at 77 for fucking 5.2 seconds, but I guarantee he's walking in the cage closer to 91, 92. Like, he's a big dude. And at 37 years old, he looks like he's still carved out of stone. Is that Jamaican genetics or what's going on there? But nah, look, the dude's a big dude, right? And he's missing weight by fucking 4 kilos. If you're missing by 4 kilos, what the fuck did you start at? Like, what did you start at to cut weight? That's my question. Because if you're like, that's not a small amount, man. Like, if he missed by like a couple 100 grams and he was like completely sucked out and stumbling into the weigh-ins like half fucking alive, like he normally is, and like you can kind of go, okay, well, this dude gave it a red eye crack. Obviously, he's cut too much weight, but that's neither here nor there. But he's like, he went for it, right? And I'm sure his opponent would have been a lot more receptive to them being like, hey, he missed by 400 grams. I guarantee you he would have been like, yeah, I don't give a fuck. Like, whatever, let's go. You know, it would have been a straightforward thing. But 4 kilos is fucking crazy. Like, that's a lot.
Please give me your opinion. And this is a weird question because this is coming from a dude that, despite training, has not, had fights at that level or anything like that. So in a way, no business to sort of critique it. However, when we highlight a guy and we put him on such a pedestal and we talk about how great he's going to be, there is a certain standard that we hold him to. So can you please explain to me, as a teammate and friend, why Kasib Murdoch and Colby Thicknesse are just whooping Indonesian boys in Bali? Like, why? They're clearly levels and levels above these guys. Why are they doing it?
Well, that's the thing, right? We're on the regional scene. We got to find fights. We got to be active. You got to give these promotions something to look at. And look, you just got to fucking go where the fights are. And unfortunately for Colby and Kasib, like, there's not a lot of people sticking their hands up to fight either one of those guys. Like, even like, look at Kasib, for example, right? Him and Piper could have fought way earlier, and he, wouldn't have to be on short notice. And he asked for that. And it was this big thing where Jake and his team were being like, well, no, I want to fight someone that's like a bit more experienced, and so I can really cement myself because I'm the next guy and I'm that guy. Yeah, how'd that go? So like, it's number one, these dudes, no one's putting their hands up to fight these guys. Like, the fucking people that are game enough to fight these guys, there's not many. Like, there's maybe a Paul Loga, but just fucking like, what where does that leave you? So you kind of just got to go where the fights are. And with Chengu Fight Night being able to like put these shows together that obviously give you an opportunity to fight and add to your record, get more experience and time inside the cage, because they're both young guys, and that's what you kind of want to do, right? You want to get as much experience as you can, keep getting these wins, and just keep being active. And especially for someone like Colby, man, with like the sort of time he's out of the sport with injuries and stuff like that, you just got to go where the fights are and be active. And you're kind of seeing that now, right? He's fought again, and now he's already got a fight. He's already scheduled to fight on Hex for the belt. But yeah, both those guys, right, are so talented, so dangerous, so experienced, so well-rounded. They'll get in there with anyone. I mean, I'll throw them in. I'll throw them in the cage right now with anyone. It's anyone. Like, I'm happy to watch them fight anyone in that division. Like, especially at bantamweight. Like, they're both super dangerous, but just got to go with the fights are, man. Obviously, we shouldn't. Should we be seeing Kasib and Colby fight on Hex and Eternal and be matched against, some other sort of killers? Yeah, of course. That's what we want to see. But at the end of the day, man, you can't sit around. Like, you got to get after it. You got to be active. And if you look at our gym from top to bottom, from the absolute top level of the sport to all the way down to the regional scene, even to our amateurs, like, we're active, bro. We get after it. We look for fights. Like, Kasib's had 4 fights this year, or just, 4 fights this year or some shit, looking to get a 5th one in. Colby's been super active. Amina's super active. Seb's fighting. I'm fighting. Jared's fighting. Like, we're all trying to be as active as humanly possible and take the fights that you can get. And that's just how it goes. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's just one of those things. It's just how regional MMA is. If we're in America, it'd be different, right? Because the pool's bigger. There's obviously all the different states. There's a lot more opportunities for you to be active, and you're going to be fighting more, like a murderer's row of fucking collegiate wrestlers and whatever the fuck you can find, because there's so much more happening. But it's just how it is where we are. To be honest, I'm surprised they've even got fights as it is, because they are so, that's a scary prospect to present to someone and be like, hey, I want you to fight this guy.
Yeah. No, for sure. So you're saying if there's no 10s at the bar, don't give him shit for taking home a 4.
100%. We've all done it, and we've got to fucking, we've all been there. So we got to, we can't judge. We can't pass judgment too much. And these people back in Australia that might feel like they need to pass judgment and cast stones. Remember, there's been a few shows, especially in a little old town called Melbourne, where we saw some Filipino cab drivers get flexed. So let's check ourselves before we pass judgment.
Who are you talking about?
It's a fucking small list. It's pretty specific.
I mean, I normally know what you're talking about. For some reason, I have no idea who you're talking about.
No, I'm sure if you think hard enough, you'll figure it out. I don't have to say.
Are you going rogue on me?
I could be absolutely doing that.
Oh, Mr. Van Heerden. All right, I'll leave it there. We'll stir some shit up after the Hex bout. So congratulations on just getting and being active and bouncing back and not really letting sort of the speed bump get in the way of what you want to do. So I look forward to seeing you back in there, mate. And it's always a pleasure chatting.
No, always, man. I appreciate it. Like I said, I always have time for shit like this, and especially with yourself. So, no, it's good though. It's good that you're doing that. That makes it even easier for some of these dumb cunts that don't know how to like schedule interviews or fucking tee stuff up or promote themselves. Yeah, give them a fucking list. They can pick 42 fucking times and all the dates in the world. Like, figure it out. It's not that hard.
All right, brother. Peace out.
Take it easy.